Welcome to the deep dive. Ever crack open a book and it's like, whoa, this wisdom, it's like it's echoing through like centuries.
Oh, absolutely. Those are the ones that really stick with you, the ones that make you realize, some things just never get old.
This time, we're diving into one of those, the Bible. But before you switch that dial thinking it's a sermon, we're focusing on the practical stuff, the life lessons, the stuff that resonates even if you don't follow a specific faith.
It's amazing, isn't it, how these, ancient texts, they still have so much to say to us today, even if you're not coming at it from a religious angle.
Exactly. And to guide this deep dive, you've brought excerpts from a lecture by Dr. Roy E. Richmond, The Wisdom of the Sacred Scripture. I'm telling you, some of this stuff really got me thinking.
He's great at cutting through all the dogma and just getting to, the core of these ideas.
Totally. He jumps right in talking about humility, but it's not just about being modest. It's more about this deep understanding of, I don't know, our place in the world.
Yeah, he quotes this proverb that really makes you think, humility is the fear of the Lord, its wages are riches and honor in life. And that can be interpreted in so many ways,
Oh,
right?
Yeah, break that down a little, because I got to be honest, fear doesn't exactly scream positive self-image.
Right. Some people, they take it literally, like fear of a higher power, but others see it as more about acknowledging something, bigger than ourselves, understanding we're not the center of the universe.
So less about shrinking yourself down, more about realizing the vastness of everything around you.
Exactly. And Dr. Richmond, he argues that this whole perspective, this humility, it's essential for connecting with other people. Because when you come at it with that respect, admitting you don't have all the answers, it opens the door for actual dialogue.
Which, let's face it, that's something I think we could all use a bit more of these days, especially with how divided everything feels.
For sure. And that whole idea of, connection, bridging divides, it actually leads right into another big theme in Dr. Richmond's lecture, Forgiveness. He uses this phrase, driving away hindrances, which, I don't know, it's a bit like car talk, right?
A little cryptic, I'll give you that.
But it's actually really profound. He's talking about the power of letting go, all those grudges we hold, past hurts, all those things we cling to that end up, they hold us back from really connecting with others and even ourselves.
He uses that parable, the prodigal son, to kind of illustrate this, right?
Yeah.
That story always gets to me.
It's a classic for a reason.
Yeah.
Well, what makes it so powerful, it's not just a father welcoming back his son. It's about, the transformative power of forgiveness for everyone involved.
I like how he talks about forgiveness as liberation. Because, holding on to anger and resentment, it really can feel like a prison, can't it?
It can. But then letting go, offering that forgiveness, it's like breaking down those walls, letting yourself move forward, lighter.
It's definitely easier said than done, though, right? There are times when, I don't know, forgiveness just feels impossible.
Oh, absolutely. And the Bible doesn't shy away from that.
Yeah.
It doesn't sugarcoat the human experience. But it reminds us we're not meant to go through those tough times alone.
But that's where community comes in, right? One of those, universal, timeless themes.
Exactly. Remember that line from Acts? All the believers were together and had everything in common. And, you don't have to be religious to see the value in that. It's about that strength we find when we come together, supporting each other, especially when things get tough.
And that sense of community, it's not just about warm fuzzies, is it? It's about, working together to actually create a better world, a more just world, which Dr. Richmond, he ties this beautifully into the idea of justice, right?
Yeah.
But not just laws and courts. Dr. Richmond, he talks about it as this active thing, we have to pursue fairness in everything we do.
Yeah, it's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Right.
He points to Micah 6:8. It says to act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with your God.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack right there. It's
Yeah.
I don't know, almost like a mission statement, for a more ethical life or something. But how do you actually live that out? Act justly, okay, sure, but what does that even look like day to day?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. Dr. Richmond, he says it's all about those little choices we make every single day. Sticking up for a coworker who's being treated unfairly, or just lending a hand to someone who needs it. Even just being aware of how, our actions affect other people.
So it's those everyday opportunities, right? To be a force for good, not waiting for some big heroic moment or...
Exactly. And it goes back to that humility thing, too, is realizing we all have a part to play in creating a more just world.
And that sometimes we need a little help, a little guidance to make the right choices. Which brings us to, I think, another big idea from Dr. Richmond Wisdom. He goes deep on Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, those books in the Bible that are basically just like packed with advice for, navigating life.
Yeah, and he makes a really important distinction. He says
Yeah.
wisdom isn't just about like knowing a lot of stuff. It's about understanding how to actually use that knowledge in ways that are meaningful.
It's like that old saying, knowledge is knowing a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is not putting it in a fruit salad.
Right. Dr. Richmond, he uses this verse from Proverbs that really drives this home. He says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding.
There's that humility again. It's like this, I don't know, this thread that runs through all these teachings.
It really is. Because true wisdom, a lot of times it means admitting we don't have all the answers, being open to learning from other people, from our own experiences, even our mistakes.
Which I think takes a certain amount of, dare I say it, hope. Believing that even when we mess up, there's still good to be found, lessons to be learned.
Oh, absolutely. And hope. This is the last big idea that Dr. Richmond explores, and, it's maybe the most powerful one. That feeling of, like, possibility, light at the end of the tunnel, even when things are tough.
He uses this quote from Jeremiah, always gives me chills. For I know the plans I have for you, plans to give you hope and a future. I don't know, it's like a promise.
It's this powerful reminder that even when everything's uncertain, like chaotic even, there's always a reason to keep going, to keep fighting for something better.
And that even when we feel lost, there's something inside us, like guiding us forward, which reminds me of this metaphor Dr. Richmond uses. He says, we are not human, we are visible spirit. Now stick with me here.
I know it sounds a little out there at first, but when you really think about it, it's really quite profound. It's like he's saying, look past the physical stuff. Recognize the depth, the resilience of the human spirit,
It's like he's saying we've got this, I don't know, this hidden strength, something that can get us through, like, anything.
Yeah. And it's that strength that lets us really live out all these things we've been talking about, Humility, forgiveness, community, justice, wisdom, hope. It's like they're not just these big ideas. They come alive when we tap into that visible spirit.
So it's not about being like superhuman. It's more about recognizing this potential we already have inside us.
Exactly. And the best part is this isn't something limited to one religion or belief system. It's like it's just part of being human.
Which makes you wonder, right? Are we like living up to that potential? Are we really tapping into that visible spirit day to day?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? But that's the thing with our wisdom, right? It's not about being perfect. It's more about that journey, growing a little every day.
It's about being in it for the long haul, stumbles and all. And maybe that's the biggest takeaway from Dr. Richmond. These teachings, it's like they're not just words in a book,
Yeah.
They're more like invitations.
Invitations to, like, live more intentionally, be more compassionate, show up as our true selves,
It's to embrace the things that connect us to something bigger, become that visible spirit. Man, that's a powerful thought to end on.
It really is. And I hope it makes people want to keep searching. Not just these ancient texts, but also like inside themselves. That's where the real wisdom and strength is.
Beautifully said. Well, we've definitely gone deep today. This whole deep dive has been amazing.
It really has. And remember, this is just the start, right? There's a whole world of wisdom out there waiting to be discovered.
So, to everyone listening, keep asking the big questions. Keep searching for those moments of connection and keep that inner light burning bright. Until next time, happy diving!